And we're very excited to be joined by Annika Lee-Jones, defender for the West Coast Fever, our very first interview on the Centre Pass podcast. Annika, thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. We'll just a bit of background about you. You are a defender. You also are known to play a bit of shooter as well. And playing behind a couple of really experienced players in Courtney Bruce and Stacey Francis. You've come up through the Western Australian state leagues and played at state level and played with Sophie Garben, who's kind of been in the headlines at the start of this season. First of all, we'll just get into the West Coast Fever this season. They brought in Janelle Fowler, who's been very dominant over the first 3 rounds. The atmosphere is probably obviously a little bit different to this time last year. What's the feel around the club and how are you guys feeling after 3 rounds?
Look, it's obviously awesome to get 3 wins in the first 3 games, but obviously we're not going to rest on that. We're going to keep trying to keep pushing hard, obviously keep fighting for the win, not take any team lightly. And yeah, like you said, it's awesome having Janelle. She provides a great target for us in the circle. And yeah, it's great.
And what do you think are some of your team's biggest strengths?
So obviously having Jay as a strong target in the circle is a huge strength for us, but we have strengths all over the court. Like everybody plays their part. Our defence end with Courtney and Stacey, obviously 2 international players, and then Jess on the wing is fantastic. They're so good at turning over the ball and providing the opportunities for us to score more down at the shooting end. And then even like our bench players and stuff have the ability to come on and impact the game. So there's strength everywhere.
You're very tall. How does practicing up against someone of a similar height, such as Fowler, help you prepare for a game?
We're pretty lucky to have Janelle, as she is one of the tallest shooters in the game. So it is very good practice for us. It makes sure that we're prepared for people like Romelda and Caitlin Swaits, Caitlin Bassett, all of those tall shooters. Makes sure that we constantly got our footwork going strong and fast to get around the players. Yeah, it's very good practice.
What have you learnt of your fellow teammates, like someone like Bruce, who's kind of taken the international stage by storm?
Yeah. Obviously having Stacey and Courtney in the defence end with me is really, really helped my progression as a player, because them both being international players, they have a lot of experience and knowledge in the defence end, and they're more than happy to share their wisdom with me, and they've really taken me under their wing and given me a lot of help to improve as a player. But not only that, but the shooters and the centre quarters as well, they're also really helpful, because obviously the centre quarters are on the outside watching in at what we're doing, so they give us tips if they think that we could get a ball or whatever. And then Janelle has been an awesome asset to the team in the fact that she is not afraid to give us defenders a lot of feedback as well. In particular myself, like she'll definitely let me know when, like if my eyes are down and I could have gotten a ball, or she thinks that, I could have gotten a ball that I missed.
Perfect. And we'll move off netball for a second. And we've had a look at your Instagram, and you're a bit of a foodie and love to bake. How did that passion come about? And do you have any specific meals that you like to prepare yourself in preparation for a game day?
Yes, I am a bit of a foodie. My nana used to bake a lot. She used to make wedding cakes and all sorts of things for people. So I think I kind of got that passion from her. Whilst I do like to bake things, I also really enjoy making sushi, and I quite like having that as a pre-game meal. I think it's something that lots of people think is actually really hard to make, but it's really not as difficult as you think.
And do you have any special or strange pre-game rituals?
Not really. I'm a bit unusual in the fact that I don't really have a really set pre-game routine or anything. I kind of just do what works for me. I'm the kind of person who doesn't really like to think a whole lot about the game in the lead up to it, so I like to keep myself busy and just not think about it too much.
So we see that you're a Tigers supporter. How did that come about?
Well, when me and my brothers were younger, our parents took us into the sports shop and sat us in front of the scarves and let us pick out any scarf that we wanted, basically. And I think I probably went for the Richmond scarf because my dad is a Richmond supporter, so being a little daddy's girl, I think I just went for what he liked.
So you and your siblings, are you all different teams?
Yeah, so I go for Richmond, and then one of my brothers goes for Essendon and the other one goes for Brisbane, so it's a bit of a mix in the family.
Very interesting. Some liberal parents. I don't know many parents that would let kids decide their own teams due to scarves. So you got very lucky. And how did you feel when you got to see the Tigers win the premiership last year?
Oh, it was so cool. My dad was definitely very excited. He kept saying he'd waited a very long time for that to happen. So he actually got to go over to the grand final, but I watched from home, and it was definitely very exciting when they got over the line.
Moving back onto netball, coming up through the ranks, what's your advice for young players hoping to try and make a career in netball?
I think my advice is to never give up and keep working hard, because when I was younger, I was never selected in like the top team or anything at association or club level. But I think if you keep working hard and if it's something that you really want to do, then eventually you have the potential to like get there. Like, just never give up, keep aiming for your goal, and you never know unless you don't try, I guess.
That's really important for all young netballers to learn and know that, you know, if you work hard enough, you'll get somewhere. Another little side note, with you talking about, you know, working hard and that, how did you come up with your bacon braids idea?
Well, Stacey and I were down at a local market in Perth one day, and we saw a girl doing hair braiding, and Stacey was like, "Oh, I could do that." And then we were just wandering around, and like we came across all the food carts and stuff, and then I don't know, it just kind of popped into our minds that we could do something like that and just make a little bit of extra money on the side. And we thought, oh, why not like join our two passions together? And then Bakes and Braids was born, I guess.
Perfect. And I think if anyone's listening and you haven't seen Stacey Francis's braids, I think she put up a photo on Instagram last week. They were incredible. I'm a guy and I'm amazed by the stuff you can do. She can do with her hair, and it's incredible. We'll go back onto netball for a few more questions. Just overall, what are your thoughts, or has it been spoken about much in the team about the bonus points that have been brought in for winning each quarter this season?
I quite like it. I think it kind of brings a different dimension into the game to some extent, because right until the last minute of the game, you're still kind of fighting to get a point. So I guess even if you're down and you might have lost the first 2 or 3 quarters, you still have the ability to get a point on the board, which could make a big difference in the long run, I guess.
How are you preparing for the possibility of going up against your former teammate, Sophie Garben? And she's been playing fantastic for the Swifts when she's been put on.
Yeah, I've definitely been watching her play and supporting her. She's been doing really great every time she's gotten on the court. But obviously we're enemies this weekend. And yeah, we've just been doing lots of video footage, watching all the Swifts girls, preparing for what they might do. Obviously I have a bit of knowledge of Soph after playing on her for many years in the past, and I'll draw on that as well as what we've been seeing from the footage. As obviously she's also made a couple of changes to her game since moving to the Swifts, and yeah, we'll just use all the information that we've gathered and that I have from playing her in the past and use that when we come up against her this weekend.
What is the team looking to improve on before going up against the Swifts this weekend in particular?
Well, every game we're kind of looking to improve on the game plan that we've had right from the beginning. So, yeah, just working on our attack and defence and taking it up another level from last game.
And just one more. We've seen that you're listed as a defender, but you've also played a bit of goal shooter. Do you feel more at home in defence, or do you ever see yourself becoming more of a shooter?
Well, at the moment, I see myself as more of a defender, as it has been a fair while since I've played shooter, but I definitely wouldn't rule out, if I was given the opportunity, I wouldn't rule out playing a bit of shooter again, as I do love playing shooter, but at the moment I think I'm pretty set and happy being a defender.
Well, that about wraps up everything we've got. Thank you very much for joining us. Our very first interview on the Centre Pass podcast. Once again, thank you to Annika Lee-Jones.
No worries. Thanks for having me.